Is that sounding better? We good now? Is that sound? We had some issues with it. We good?
No idea why.
But it's good this week. All right. We're going to start, we're going to maybe finish the book of Ruth. We'll see. Dad was saying to me, he said, all the stuff, the way you've been explaining the book of Ruth, he goes, I'm into 1st and 2nd Samuel now. And he said, it just so sets the stage for 1st and 2nd Samuel. He goes, you ought to do that next. We will.
Oh, good.
That's next. That's what we're doing. Straight through. Thank you, dear. This is the love story. It is a true story, a human love story between two human beings, but it paints a picture, and God used it and had the story told because of things that illustrates about him and his view of us, but even of the Messiah and of our Savior, Redeemer. Even right off the bat, if you look at chapter 4, verse 1, meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there just as the guardian redeemer he had mentioned came along, or the kinsman redeemer, depending on the version, translation that you're using. That name, the kinsman redeemer, the guardian redeemer, that is in the book. I mean, it's a short book, 4 chapters, and 23 times that position is mentioned. Kind of makes you think that it's a theme of the book when it's mentioned as much as anything else in there. That whole law is the law to protect the lineage of people. That is the purpose of the kinsman redeemer. It goes along with the year of Jubilee. We talked about that before. What happens at the year of Jubilee to all the land that's been bought and sold? It all goes back to the original owner, right? And so it kind of ties in with that, so it keeps the land in the family lines. But that's 50 years. And so what do you do between those times? If somebody gets into debt and has to sell land, then a person in their family can go to who it was sold to and redeem it back. And at any time can go and say, I'm going to pay for the debt that they lost that land for. And there's percentages. It's all done through the priests, and it's all set up that way. When you stop and understand that, it's a whole lot more than just who owns the land, but it's to protect the lineage and the land that lineage gets. We don't think that way. It's just not in our culture to think that way. Unless you are from the area and your family's from the area and they've had land in the family for a long time, then they kind of get it. Like, they don't want to lose that land.
Family farm.
Yeah, if it's the family farm, we've got the farm that my mom grew up on and told all the stories about. It's over in Jackson County. And one of my cousins now owns that. And he's got Alzheimer's, and his wife is old, and was afraid that to put him in a facility they were going to lose the farm and all that. And then they started realizing, well, but when they die, there's nobody else to take over that farm. Like, I'd do anything to be able to buy that farm and own it. But why? To keep it in the family? I can't go farm. in Jackson County. I'm not going to move over there. You know what I'm saying? There's that, but there's something special about it. And that's, I think, the way God originally wanted it to be with this relationship. And you say, why are you spending so much time on this? Because it seems to somehow be a theme in this book. And to understand this book, we have to understand whether that's important to us or not. It was to God, especially to the 12 tribes of Israel, because that spoke specifically of their inheritance that God gave them. The promise to Abraham, I'm giving you this land. And God divided up, I want this tribe to get this land, this tribe to get that land. So the reason it's important to God is it all goes hand in hand with God fulfilling his covenant promises. You know, he says, this is the land I give you for generations to come. Well, that can't happen if they don't own it for generations to come. So every 50 years it goes back. And somebody else buys it in the meantime. Anybody in that clan has a right, starting with the closest kinsman redeemer, to further away until somebody can do that. So we understand the land part, and we've talked about that before, but now I want to spend a little bit more time just thinking about the lineage part, that this is to connect the lineage. I know we've talked about that some, and so I just want you to have it in mind as we go through this stuff. Now, let's begin chapter 4 again. Meanwhile, well, we're not making it very far into the chapter till I have to stop. What does meanwhile mean?
Something else is going on.
Something else is going on at the same time. All right, so we've got to figure out, when is this happening? What else is going on at the same time? We look back to chapter 3, chapter 4, and verse 16. Up through 15, Boaz and Ruth are talking, right? In 16, they separate and they go their different ways. In 16, Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi, and asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" And she told her everything Boaz had done for her, and added, "He gave me 6 measures of barley, saying, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled." When? Today. So while they're talking about this, while Ruth is on her way home to Naomi, then Naomi sees her, and, "Hey, how'd it go?" "Well, let me tell you," and the whole time they're in the conversation, Boaz is already in action. And he's, meanwhile, same time that's going on, back to verse 1, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there just as the guardian redeemer he had mentioned came along. We would say, what?
A coincidence.
A coincidence? What luck? What providence? Providence is luck controlled by God. All right, we'll take that. I hate to use the word luck, but you know what I mean. And Boaz said, "Hey, come over here, my friend, and sit down." So he went over and sat down. All right, so Boaz, during this time, went back to town to handle the legal transaction while she waited. Let me say that again. I want you to stop and think about this, because this is a picture. Boaz is a picture of Christ. And think about this. This is written in the Old Testament before Jesus has paid the debt on the cross. He says, and while she waited in hope, right? Mm-hmm. He went to handle the legal transaction. That is a beautiful picture of Christ. Why didn't she go to handle it? Did it not affect her? Mm-hmm. Drastically. But she had no control over what happened. She had to trust Boaz to go handle it. It was his responsibility. She had to wait and place her hope and trust in Boaz to get it done.
Reminds me of Christ saying, I go to my Father to prepare a place for you.
Yes.
And then I will come back.
And I'll get you.
And I'll bring you to where...
And that's exactly what Boaz is going to do. He's got to come back.
He could not pay, but he could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can she redeem it with the money she's got? No, they've got nothing. They came back empty. They came back poor.
6 bushels of oil.
Yeah. In fact, she's in poverty. Yeah, she's got, I'll trade you for the barley you just gave me,
She doesn't have any legal standing either. Naomi may have.
I'd have to think about that. You might be right, but if she had the money as I think you're right. I'd have to, you're probably right because you know more about their customs than I did, but
Well, women usually
had no right.
Had no rights. So the only one who might have had a right, because she was the widow of Elimelech, would have been Naomi.
Right, but Naomi had 2 sons, and the rights would have passed to them, and by marriage, these girls had some right, some connection to the land, because in order to get the land, you get the woman, okay? And there's some, I still have some unanswered questions. I found some stuff very interesting, but I don't want to get there yet. I'll get to it. There's just so much stuff here to figure out, and I love it. Let me read for you, well, I've already read the legal terms from Deuteronomy 25. We could go back and read it again. Let me see what you remember. In Deuteronomy 25, a woman becomes a widow. The next of kin brother to the husband is supposed to marry her. If is he allowed to refuse?
Yes.
Yes. If he refuses, what happens?
He gets disgraced.
He gets disgraced. They take his sandal off, which is a proof of refusal. And at that time, then they would spit in their face, and they'd be known as a family name, the one who refused to redeem. Okay? And so if you want to look at that, it's Deuteronomy 25, 5 to 10. I'm not going to go back and read that right now because we've read it before, but it's pretty. Here's the thing. The one thing that I get out of that is it is not required by law, but it is disgraceful but not illegal. Okay? It was you should, but you don't have to, because there could be extenuating circumstances, and I think also if they're forced to do it, then that wife would never be loved in her position. And so God set it up in a way, said this is how you should take care of them, but if you refuse, let you refuse. I'm not going to make you do it. So now, when we go to chapter 4, the first 4 verses. All right, so verse 1, he calls them over and sits down. Verse 2, Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, sit here. And they did so. I love that. Who goes over and commands 10 elders?
Someone who's at least equal in status.
Either someone equal in status, or, and I think he may have been, or he's a law-abiding citizen, and he knew what the law demanded, and they knew that's their responsibility in the law to be a witness for a transaction at the gate. Y'all follow me? So when he
At least he was very respectful.
He was respected, but he is trying to obey the letter of the law. They recognize it, and okay, we'll come, we'll sit down, let's see what's going on, we'll be the witnesses. It's like calling the court case to order, but a little more informally. It's done at the gates, and you grab the ones that are there. That's how they did it back then. But it shows that he knows the law, and he's obeying the law. Verse 3. Then he said to the guardian redeemer, what's his name, by the way?
No idea.
No idea, just keeps calling him the guardian redeemer. I may start I read it, I see guardian redeemer. I'm so used to kinsman redeemer, and I like the phrase kinsman because it is about the next of kin, and I think it gives us a better understanding. But just so y'all know, we're talking the same term, okay? He says to the kinsman redeemer, now I love this, he is setting the guy up to say yes without all the information. He says, Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I think in some versions it says our brother. And brother can be a broader term in the Hebrew. It may be that they were brothers, or it could mean brother and more of a relative. I don't know. But this is what we do know, is that they were related. They were kinsmen. And the guardian redeemer, the kinsman redeemer, was closer kin. Did you get the key to Kevin? Kevin's going to need the bus afterwards.
I gave it to Andrea.
Okay, good enough. Thank you, sir. Scott is not late. He was here on time, but he went up to get the bus back for the Awana kids to use. Thank you, Scott, for doing that. You just missed the best stuff, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's close in prayer and have time of prayer now. The Scots.
Oh my goodness, I made it.
Missed it all.
Yeah, you made it just after they got here. No, I'm kidding. All right, we're in Ruth 4, and then verse 4. He says, I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it. Did you catch that? Mm-hmm. He's suggesting the other kinsman redeemer buy it as a witness in front of all these witnesses of elders, that he wasn't trying to do anything underhanded. Because who has the legal right to do it first?
First kinsman.
The kinsman redeemer. What's his name?
No idea.
No idea.
I'll never forget his name now.
The one that Boaz keeps referring to.
I'll never forget his name.
Yeah, I will not forget something I've never known.
The no idea guy.
Yeah, the unknown kinsman redeemer.
Sorry, brother.
So I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. So he's got his clan, their clan, because they're related, their clan, and a jury of their peers. Beyond that, a jury of their clan to protect their clan. And he says, I'm here to suggest that you buy it. He's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Not a bad idea. Boaz says, if you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not tell me, so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line. So I don't know if they got along well or not. He says, come sit down, my dear friend. I don't know if that's buttering up somebody that you didn't get along with, or if it's because they were friends. I don't know. But he seems to be a shrewd businessman. What's his name, Lisa?
I don't know.
I don't either. And Boaz says, in front of all the elders, you are the one with the right to do this, not me. Now, did Boaz want it? Did Boaz go to get it done in his name? He had the money in his back pocket ready to go. Yep, already stopped by the bank, got the cashier's check. You know, he's coming to closing. And, but he gets there, and before he offers any of that, he says, you have the first right. In front of all these witnesses, are you going to do it? Everybody's looking, everybody's watching you.
I think he set him up even before that. I mean, just imagine you're walking down the road and somebody says, come on over here and sit down in the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, elders, come on, come. It's like,
Come join us. Have a seat, have a drink, get in the shade.
sent to the principal's office? I mean, I have to think that the guy's thinking, what did I do? What's going on here? Why is he calling the elders?
I think he probably realized it pretty quick, and Boaz doesn't seem to waste any time getting into the conversation. Let's talk about this closest kinsman redeemer for a moment. Boaz is second line. Who's first in line?
Don't know.
No idea.
The other kinsman redeemer. Now, am I making a point? Who is he? Don't know. What's really funny is we're about to see that what he's really concerned about is saving his name. Who is he? Who was second in line?
Boaz.
Boaz. We know Boaz. Who we don't know is the guy trying to save his own name.
That's ironic.
Sounds so crazy.
Isn't that something?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think because of the way they don't say his name, they could have said, and the closest of kin was Bob. I don't think they use Bob, but you know what I'm saying. And they don't. They're like, I don't even want to give his name. And I think they could have. I think part of it might be, and I've heard several stories on this and sermons on this and read stuff, and almost every preacher that I heard, I should have read Deuteronomy 25, but it was a disgraceful, shameful thing to not do it. And they say, well, here it wasn't a disgrace. It just shows that they didn't have to, but Boaz is right there to do it. But I kind of wonder if the reason we don't know his name is because it says, don't call them by their name anymore, call them by the one who wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Now we don't know their name. Why not?
We know he didn't do it.
Because he was the one, we know he didn't do it. How do we know this closest kinsman redeemer? All of us know him only by the one who didn't do it. Isn't that something?
That's his name, Mr. Conceded.
And so I will tell you this, that little comment I just gave you, I have not found anywhere in any of the sermons or any of the commentaries, but it just makes sense to me. So maybe I'm either really weird in seeing how this, like, maybe that's not it at all, but it sure looks like, to me, it makes some sense.
Makes me think that in heaven, God says Christ is going to give us a new name.
Oh.
And that new name is going to identify our life as we have lived it. And I wonder what mine is going to be. What?
I don't know anything to worry about.
Hopefully it won't be, I don't know.
I'll be the pastor of no name.
He did the Redeemer.
Yeah.
Pastor Tom.
Was it? I'm pastor, wasn't me.
I have it open to Deuteronomy. Is there something?
No, it's all right.
All right. That's right.
So anyway, this closest redeemer, unnamed kinsman redeemer, wanted the land, but not Ruth. Look at,
There yet.
we're getting there. We're in verse 5. Here we go. At the end of verse 4, he says, for no one has the right to do it except you, and I'm next in line. I will redeem it, he said. So he's saying, look, you're the one with the right, but I'm next in line. And I'm here in front of everybody. Do you think, what's his name? The first one?
He didn't do it.
He didn't do it. That's his name. Do you think he didn't do it, knew that Boaz wanted it?
Yes.
Yeah, by this whole conversation, Boaz brings it up, and yet he's like, yeah, I'll do it. You came here thinking you're buying land, I'm taking the land. Shrewd businessman. That's why I wondered just how close they were. It's like, I am, but did you bring this up because you wanted it? Is this something to help you? I could see my brothers having that kind of a conversation rather than, I don't care if you wanted it or not, and that's why you brought it up. If it benefits me, I'm doing it. Don't you think Ruth is glad that she got Boaz and not I wouldn't do it guy?
Absolutely.
Got the right feel.
Yeah. Verse 5. Then Boaz said, okay, good, you can do that. On the day that you buy the land from Naomi, you will also acquire Ruth the Moabite. Not Noah, who lived in Moab and has joined us. I mean, what's her reputation?
You just said Noah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Moab.
You said no.
Now, you meant Ruth.
Ruth.
Wow.
That came flooding in from nowhere.
I was like, no one.
That's right. The humor's about to sink.
Score on that joke.
Ignore the last 30 seconds. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the dead man's widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. So, yeah, good, you get the land. Oh, but it's not just the widow Naomi, but her daughter-in-law is here, and you get her, and you have to carry the name of brother Elimelech and carry that on through. And he's like, yeah, no way. That's not what, no, I'll take the land because I can make money on that, but I don't want the widow.
Well, and because it was more than just having the widow, it was the widow had to produce a son to carry on the name. So that means that his obligation is more than just
Exactly.
letting her be a servant.
So he pays for the land, then fathers maybe a son through Ruth in order to carry on the name of Elimelech. So that part of the inheritance is, he's going to pay for it, but Elimelech's offspring's going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his own, yeah.
Right? You see? And he's like, wait a minute, why am I spending my kid's money for Elimelech? And he, you understand? And so he's like, no, wait a minute. That's a deal I don't want to do. I'm not here to redeem him. I'm here to make money on land. And so we'll get to it in a minute, but
He didn't even say the girl or nothing.
no, it's probably a good thing. I'll bet Ruth was cute.
Yeah.
Does it say anything about the I didn't do it guy being married? Did he have a family?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got family. He's got we're about to get there. Let's hang on there. Let's get to that.
One too slow.
I know. I'm trying not to get done with Ruth today. No, I'm just kidding. So verse 6. At this, the guardian redeemer said, "Then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it." All right, so now this is a decision made in front of all 10 elders and all the other witnesses that are there. And that's why he thought he might change his mind later. And so he wanted to handle it right now, make the decision now. We've got everybody here. Let's make the decision. Now, notice this in verse 7. Because we've already talked about how he wanted to protect his own estate. He's trying to protect his own offspring. Verse 7 is in parentheses. And it's to, the author is giving us some insight into what's about to happen. And here's what it says. Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel.
Did you walk home with one shoe? Did they trade shoes?
Good question. Is it trade shoe?
Here's what's interesting. And again, this is something nobody else seemed to bring up, so if I'm way off base, you're stuck with me. But in Deuteronomy 25 that I should have read, verse 7, however, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, he shall go to the elders of the town gate and say, my husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. So the woman is supposed to come and talk to them and say, he's not going to do it. He will not fulfill the duty of brother-in-law to me. Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. All right, so their job, sitting there, is to talk him into it. If he persists in saying, I do not want to marry her, his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take one of his sandals and spit in his face and say, this is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. And then it goes on, that man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled. Okay? So everybody refers back to that law, and I believe it does refer to that law. But does that sound like verse 7? What's different?
Ain't nobody spitting on it.
Ain't nobody spitting.
No woman involved.
No woman's there.
To take off your own sandals, not a disgrace in verse 7.
But yet, is there anything that hints that it came from the Deuteronomy 25 law?
Yeah.
No.
It is?
Yeah, when it says, now in earlier times in Israel, this is what was done. Here's my point. We're looking way back to Ruth. But from Ruth back to Deuteronomy, they're looking back. And already by then, before I get there, what time of history did Ruth take place in?
Judges.
The Judges. What was it like during the time of the Judges?
Every man.
Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So this is a sneak peek into their view of the law as traditions they used to follow. That's why they didn't get it accurate.
The law has already morphed into a civil, like the thing that was used to disgrace them.
Now it's not a disgrace. There's not a disgrace. It's just
How things are done legally.
it's just a legal transaction, but I feel no shame in it.
That sounds familiar.
Doesn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. See how mankind gets? The law can be given, and then they feel shame for disobeying the law because it's the law of God, until you don't care about God anymore. And then, yeah, I just did it, and, give my sandal because she didn't have to come take it. I'll give it. Like, this is my way of saying I'm done. This is how we make a transaction.
This is the way it's always been done. Everybody does it.
And so I believe that's what's going on here. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I see. Verse 8. So the guardian redeemer said to Boaz, buy it yourself, and he removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi. Now watch this. This, I think, is bringing the whole book together. And it's a full circle. Watch this. I bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahalon. Who is Kilion and Mahalon?
The sons of the
Son-in-law.
The son-in-laws, where are they?
Dead.
They're dead. Those were the sons of Elimelech. And Boaz is not just saying Elimelech. And see if you guys catch this. There's something unique in the fact that Boaz redeems for Kilion and Mahalon. What is it?
He's only marrying Ruth, not the other brother's wife.
Where's Orpah?
She didn't come. She's
No, you're right. She didn't come. And so her line that would have gone through a different husband is brought over to Ruth's line. Y'all following this? Had she come back, there would have been a kinsman redeemer necessary for her part of that property. But she rejected, let's call it this, rejected God, rejected salvation, and ends up losing the inheritance that could have been hers.
That's right.
Yeah. And Ruth, who didn't know anything was going to come to her, gets it all because she abandoned the worldly gods of the Moabites and her family and left and said, your people will be my people, but your God will be my God.
She was a Gentile.
And so from being Gentile, and I think that's why Boaz lovingly threw her under the bus.
yeah.
When he says, oh good, you get the Moabite woman.
Yeah.
What? No way. I knew you'd say that, but I will. I'll take the Moabitess. And in doing so, redeems Elimelech, Naomi, Kilion, Mahalon, the whole. Look, when Jesus redeems, he covers it all. There's some beautiful things that are going on there. I think it's just interesting that now at the end of the book, those names come back up. That it's not just about Ruth and Boaz. Because if it goes back to Elimelech, but it's showing how Ruth, the Moabitess, becomes part of the line through Elimelech, it is the line and genealogy of King David and eventually Jesus Christ. And I'm going to show you in a minute why I think this book is more about lineage than it is love relationship. Okay? You'll see it here in a minute. Verse, where am I at? 10. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahalon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today, you are all witnesses. I think that the first guy, what was his name?
He didn't do it.
The he didn't do it guy. We don't know who he is because he wanted to save his name. Boaz says, I'm not worried about my name. I'm here to save Elimelech's line because that pleases God. He should be shamed he didn't do it. I'll do it. And because of that, what's his name?
Boaz.
Boaz. 4,000 years later, we know him. And we hear his story, and it's read every year in the Israelite community. And it's why? Because he didn't care about his name. He cared about obeying God and what was important to God. He did, and God responded by really blessing him. Now, that's beautiful. We could stop the book right there and be happy. But it's still not over. Now, verse 11, then the elders and all the people at the gate said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah. Let me stop right there. We're about to see a blessing. A blessing is when the elders would call a good to happen to somebody. Okay? You will sense the celebration that the community has. Remember, they're all family members. They're all from the same tribe. They're all kinsmen here. And they're proud of their tribe. And one of their own refused to do it. Now, I'm not going to do that and mess up my inheritance. And he stood up, Boaz stood up and said, but I'm going to do it. There's an answer right here. And so they are in this, I think, it's not written for us here, but I think the first guy was shamed according to Deuteronomy 25, as much as Boaz is celebrated here for having done the right thing. And this is going to be really interesting. The elders and the people at the gate said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home. Stop right there. Again, there's so much going on here. Whose home? Doesn't it sound like he's going over to their property and their home? He's buying it. But they understand he's buying it. It becomes his. Even though it's his on behalf of Elimelech, it's still your home is going to be remembered for this. And may your offspring be, and we'll see it here in a minute. So it's this great look to him to be blessed for doing what he's done. And here's what it says. May the Lord make the woman who's coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. Are they the only two mothers of the patriarchs? No, who else was? I say patriarchs, that's father, the fathers that started all the tribes, all the sons of Israel. Some of them were from Rachel, some were from Leah. Who were the other two women?
Concubines.
The concubines of Rachel and Leah. So the way Israel looked at it as, even though they were other women, they were handmaids of Rachel and Leah under their authority. And Rachel, they even gave their handmaids to their father to produce offspring for them. There's so much twisted stuff going on here. But Israel looked at it and said, we look at the tribes as coming from Rachel and Leah, and may you be blessed with that kind of blessing because you've done this. So did they see it as a big deal? They did. Not only that, may you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Now, this is an interesting thing because let me read verse 12 for a second, and then you'll see why. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Perez is the father of Bethlehem, where they're all from. So they're looking at their lineage and say, as your... Oh boy, I'm going to mess this up, but I want to try to be clear. Perez is the offspring of whom? Judah and Tamar. Tell me about Judah and Tamar. Who knows anything about that relationship?
She was his daughter-in-law.
Right.
And he was supposed to give his son under the kinsman redeemer, the whole thing. And he refused to do it, so she disguised herself as a prostitute, and he hired her and
One son died.
fathered the,
Yeah, Perez. All right, so y'all catching this? All right, your heads are spinning a little bit. All right, so they're saying, may your house be like Perez, where we come from, whose mother and father was Judah and his daughter-in-law Tamar. Because when Tamar's husband died, the brother refused the kinsman redeemer thing that we've been talking about this whole time. And instead of a kinsman redeemer coming and saying, but I'll do it, she took matters in her own hands. She disguised herself as a prostitute and went on the way her father-in-law Judah would walk. And as he comes through, he sees this prostitute, spends the night with her, not knowing it's his daughter-in-law, and gets her pregnant. Are they just messed up?
And the elders of Israel are in this blessing and glorifying that relationship.
Yes, because somehow, in the not normal way, God used that to bring about Perez to maintain the line that disobedient Judah wasn't going to protect. I know, heads are spinning. Let me try to simplify everything we've just said. There's no simplification. Because there's actually more to the confusion.
But just the same way that they skewed the law of removing the sandal, they also skew the story and glorify the story that was not glorifying to God, and they're using it as a blessing now.
Right. And let's muddy the waters a little bit more. Both Tamar and Judah is an incestual type relationship, just as the parents of the Moabites. If you remember when we went back, that's Lot and his daughter. Yeah, I know. And well, it wasn't Lot. It was Lot was drunk and was passed out. So it was the daughters and Lot. And so here the blessings are to them that may God take what was intended for evil and use it for good, as He has done in the past. Think about that. It is. God takes a people with a sordid past, a hopeless present, and a bleak future, and turns it into blessings beyond words. That's what's happening in this book. Let me keep going, because I'm going to finish this and show you why I think so much of this is about what I just told you. It's about this lineage and how God protects the lineage no matter how badly man tries to mess it up. God protected it. And I think that's the big story in all this. Verse 13, so Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive. So who did it? Who blessed her really? God. He had all this planned because he wanted this baby to come. And she gave birth to a son. The women, said to Naomi, praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you. Said to who?
Naomi.
This is back to Naomi. She's the grandmother. But the grandmother to redeem Elimelech's name. Anyway, let me keep going. Praise be the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. Is he? Does that happen? What's his name?
Boaz.
Boaz. You're all afraid to answer now, aren't you? There's Boaz. We know it. He has become famous, and they read it all the time. The one who tried to be famous, we don't know his name. Verse 15, he will renew your life and sustain you in your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons has given him birth. Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The women living there said, Naomi has a son. Who has a son? Naomi. Who really has a son? Ruth. But it's a blessing to Naomi because Naomi brought Ruth back from the Moabites. What if Naomi would have said, no, stay there and not let her come back?
And no son.
Okay.
She lost out. And they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Remember, may your line be like Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David. Whew, we made it through the book. And it is so much more than a love story.
Yes, it is.
It is a providential story of God preparing and sustaining and protecting the lineage through which King David and eventually King Jesus would come. Man tried multiple times to mess it up. One kinsman redeemer said, I'm not going to do it. But Boaz stepped up and said, I will redeem the unredeemable. And and there we have it. And I think that's going to set the stage for, remember, we ended the book of Judges with the Benjamites, who are where King Saul will come from. But the protected line of King David is going to come after that.
Now we're into 1 Samuel.
Now we're into 1 Samuel.
Ooh.
We could just switch to like Hosea.
I know.
Just kidding. All right, any other comments, questions?
Well, it seems to me that Naomi might have been, this is Boaz, had a little like not taking her to Moab.
Yeah,
I mean, the kinsman redeemer
that's a good point.
done that for her, but she was at a point now where she could not have children. She's too old.
Yeah,
But
if she had never left.
she had a daughter-in-law, and
Yeah.
married one of her sons.
Yeah. If she'd have never left Israel in the land. And as we go through, this is something just to watch. I've studied this out once years ago, and I can't give too many details, but whenever Israel was in the land where God wanted them, you're going to see blessing. Whenever they would leave the land where God wanted them, there was frustration and struggle. And you see it, this is just another example. They're supposed to be in Israel. Even though there was hardships in Israel, it's because God was dealing with them. And Elimelech said, I don't want to deal with this. I want to go handle stuff myself. And so he left, and he lost out on all of this. But his bloodline was still the one that God had promised the kings to come through. So he protected it and brought it around in an abnormal way, but in a way that I think the Israelites of that day said, shame on, I won't do it. And let's really honor forever this guy who did it.
And for me, going back to that word for wings, and we'll go back to Exodus, wings are used just before the covenant on Sinai. And Ezekiel, where it's the allegory, and it's putting the cover of the wings over, was the next verses talk about God making the covenant.
Yeah.
And when Boaz puts his over, it's the covenant of marriage. So God protected his covenant, his word, which is the lineage.
Wow.
It's amazing to me how much Wednesday night ties into your sermon.
Oh, I know, because I've been talking about Sunday's sermon from Hebrews with Hannah and Gila, and it all.
Goes together.
It's all happening.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not that it just happens that Ruth and Hebrews go together. It's that the more you accurately study your Bible, the more you will see the consistent themes from beginning to end. It always matches.
Yeah.
You always see the same things. And that's actually the theme of Sunday's sermon, is how He changes things along the way, but His purposes, He says, you can count on it as an anchor for your soul, that my purposes never change. And so the more you know your Bible, the more you go, I see that. And that makes it so trustworthy. You cannot convince me with a million proofs that the Bible isn't true, because I've seen too much of it to be absolutely consistent. It's a miracle book. It could not have been written by anybody or any group of men to be this consistent over thousands of years. Impossible.
Proverbs 16:3 says, God works out everything for His own will, even the wicked for the day of destruction.
Yep. So, all right, any other questions? All right, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the book of Ruth, and thank you for helping us to get so much out of it. And pray that you help us to continue to enjoy as we walk through your scriptures and learn from it. In Jesus' name, amen.